Here's how I knew that we were really back to work. Our parents are texting us notes about the show again. One of our writers got this message from his mother this morning at 6:11 a.m. She wrote, "Please don't make tonight's monologue all about Trump." Well, sorry, Josh's mom. That is a new can-do. I am backed up like you would not believe.
Yes, the left-wing lynch mob. We call them the Democratic Party. Long history and tradition of lynching their political enemies, and just about anybody. You know, the Democrat Party, trees, ropes, race, that's the Democrat Party. Let's dance. Put on your red shoes. Well, it's a crazy time to be alive in the United States of America. Try not to get murdered, because there are a lot of Democrats out there, and they're murdering a lot of people. The left always murders a lot of people. Give them a lot of power, they murder a lot of people. By the millions and millions. Now, we're talking about Democrat Congressman Henry Cuellar from Texas, and the fact that he was carjacked in Washington, D.C. last night by 3 Democrats with guns. Young men. The police said to be on the lookout for 3 men. That's the description that was provided. I wonder if there's any more they could provide that would help locate the criminals involved in this carjacking a member of Congress. They stole his sushi. They stole his cell phone. They stole his luggage. They stole his car. They're criminals. There are no suspects. There have been no arrests. But keep in mind that Henry Cuellar in 2020 proudly voted for the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. They like that word justice. They don't know what it means, but they use it a lot. It's like diversity. Diversity. They use that that's one of their favorite words. Diversity is, of course, an old wooden ship. An old wooden ship. Sorry, that's an Anchorman movie reference there. But the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. I'm making a fist and shaking it in front of my own face. Justice in policing. Now, since George Floyd died, there have been, when was that? There have been about 30,000 black people murdered in the United States of America, almost all of them by other black people. But pay no attention to that, because that would rain on their little parade. But Henry Cuellar carjacked last night by 3 Democrats with guns. And he voted for the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, which would end racial and religious and discrimination and profiling. That was already illegal, but pay no attention to that. But now they're targeting Catholics all over the place, so it apparently didn't apply to that. The FBI is, because the FBI sucks. So there's that. Establish a national police misconduct registry. Sure, because the problem is the police and misconduct, to improve transparency and prevent problematic officers. Yeah, that's the problem, is the police, you see, require data collection, including mandatory body cameras and dashboard cameras, which has been good for the police because it shows the bad guys being the bad guys, which the dim-witted Democrats did not understand what happened. And now that it's obvious, they're still unaware of it because they're not very bright. Establish new standards for policing, and because it's the police that are the problem, and make lynchings a federal hate crime. All right, well, the Democrats are, you look at every lynching in the history of the country. First of all, there have been more people murdered so far this year than just black people murdered so far this year than were lynched in the history of the country. But never mind that. That's not important now. Lynching, the Democrat Party is the party of lynching. Nobody's lynched people like the Democrats have lynched people, but that's not important now, is it? Just amazing stuff. Now, let me get to this, because in Philadelphia, the Democrats were looting stores, plundering, and Meatball, their spiritual leader, Meatball, was out there. She's their own personal Jim Jones.
Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat.
That's the problem.
Everybody must eat.
She looks hungry, doesn't she? She needs a snack. She needs it now. She's eating iPhones. Because the looting is a Democrat Party thing, isn't it? It's your Democrats. They're violent and they commit lots and lots of crimes. Not just Congressman Jamal Bowman, although he committed several crimes the other day for which he will not be held accountable. And now he's calling everybody Nazis. And he wanted to clarify neo-Nazis. He kind of backpedaled a little bit, but only a little bit. But your Democrats, they love crime. Here's one of the stories. 72 charged in Philadelphia looting spree as police search for more suspects. The Democrats are not on the side of the police. The Democrats are on the side of the violent mob of looters in the street. Amazing stuff. I went and looked it up today because of all the crime in Washington, the carjacking, the Democrat congressman from Texas and so on. And I went back and I looked at this National Panhandler radio story from 2020, June 8th. Activists painted "Defund the Police" right in the street on 16th Street in giant yellow letters. Defund the police next to the new Black Lives Matter mural. They call it a mural. They took over 16th Street and painted Black Lives Matter. Then they aborted 40% of them in the womb, and then they killed hundreds and hundreds of them, the Democrats did, because irony is really not their bag. And they painted "Defund the Police," and the mayor, who's an idiot, Muriel Bowser, posed for pictures with "Defund the Police" behind her in the street because, they're anti-police and they're pro-criminal. They're pro-crime because it's them committing all the crimes. Now, in Philadelphia, with the 72 arrested in the looting spree, they got Loot Lemon. Apparently, there's no Louis Vuitton there because, they would have gotten that. They got the Foot Locker because everybody needs a lot of gym shoes. Forget about that everybody must eat thing from Meatball, a person named Meatball. I think that she should have been selected by Gavin Newsom. Meatball should have been to replace Senator Dianne Feinstein in the California Senate seat vacated by Senator Feinstein's death last week. I think Meatball would be the perfect replacement. But instead, we got a black woman lesbian who lives in Maryland and is a radical leftist who fights for abortion. She's a lesbian. What does she care about abortion? And she fights for abortion because she loves abortion, which gets 40% of the black population in America. 400 out of every 1,000 African-American pregnancies snuffed out, exterminated, don't make it to the starting line. And the Democrats love that. They give out awards for that. They literally give out awards for that. And then the murders, which they pay no attention to. So, and the looting, which the news media covered for one day, and then they moved on because it's Democrats. But they love "Defund the Police." Los Angeles now following Illinois with zero cash bail for criminals in Los Angeles County, which means more crime in Los Angeles County. The Democrats are getting people killed all over the place, and they like it. It's one of the things they like best about themselves. Now, in Philadelphia, this comic strip, Dilbert? It's called Dilbert, right? And the author, the writer, the artist, whatever you call him, the cartoonist, who seems fine, his name is Scott Adams. Scott Adams. And he's the creator of Dilbert, the very well-known comic strip, all right? Now, Scott Adams, way back in 2020, had a Twitter account, and he tweeted something way back then. He tweeted that as Joe Biden is elected president, he said, there's going to be a crime wave if Joe Biden is elected president, and you'll be lucky to be alive. He said, good chance you'll be dead. All right? He tweeted that in 2020. Sounds a little bit hyperbolic, I guess, but Scott Adams was not entirely wrong. There has been a murderous crime wave from coast to coast, and the Democrats are 100% responsible for it, okay? So this radical left-wing queer journalist in Philadelphia and activist, a lot of the news media, the New York Times and stuff, they call him an activist as well. They say that he's a journalist activist. And this guy, Josh Kruger was his name, the gay radical left-wing journalist and activist in Philadelphia. Just a couple of days ago, he decided that he was going to mock Scott Adams, the Dilbert creator. And so he did so with an X post. And he wrote, "The Dilbert dude is like Nostradamus. Look at this prediction from 2020. Wow, eerie." Okay, that's what he said. And he was mocking Scott Adams, who said with Joe Biden being elected, there would be a crime wave and, you might be murdered. So this left-wing, gay, activist, journalist, Philadelphia, decided 3 days ago to mock Scott Adams with an X post. And this Dilbert dude is like Nostradamus. Look at this prediction, 2020. Wow. Now, here's the crazy thing. The journalist who posted that mocking X post a couple of days ago, attacking and mocking Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, his name was Josh Kruger. He was just murdered in his home yesterday, inside of his home. He was murdered in his home, being shot 7 times in the city of brotherly love. Now, 2 days after that tweet where he just mocked him, he was murdered in his Philadelphia home, shot 7 times, according to Channel 6, the ABC affiliate in Philadelphia. The victim of a homicide in Philadelphia has been identified as local journalist and community activist Josh Kruger, 39 years old, was shot 7 times inside a home, 2300 block of Watkins Street, in the Point Breeze section around 1:30 a.m. Monday, so after midnight Sunday night. He died at Penn Presbyterian Hospital about 45 minutes later. No word on the motive for the shooting. No arrests have been made. District Attorney Larry Krasner, a radical left-wing pro-criminal, pro-crime, Soros extremist. District Attorney Larry Krasner said in a statement that Kruger was, quote, an openly queer, it says openly queer writer who wrote about his own journey surviving substance use, disorder, and homelessness. Kruger was a journalist with bylines in multiple publications, including the Philadelphia Inquirer, Philadelphia Magazine, Philadelphia Citizen, WHYY, and Billy Penn. Now, Philadelphia has become lawless under their Democrat governor, mayor, and Soros-backed district attorney. This horrible crime, following an eerie tweet, will get buried by corporate media despite the clear newsworthy nature of the incident. Now, it reminded my friend Marty of the Jamal Khashoggi murder. Remember, he was supposed to be a journalist. He wrote a few things in the Washington Post, and he was murdered and chopped up into pieces in Turkey, in the nation of Turkey. And apparently Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia ordered the killing there. And that made news every day for months on end because there was a villain that the fake news media could get behind. But now there is no fake villain for them to get behind. So they'll just completely ignore this murder of the journalist in Philadelphia, who is a radical leftist activist posing as a journalist, a queer journalist, according to the heroes of the left. And he was shot 7 times, apparently in his own home at 1:30 in the morning. I'm going to guess it's somebody he knew, probably somebody he knew well. I don't want to leap to any conclusions. And 72 Democrats have been charged and arrested by the police in Philadelphia in the looting spree that the Democrats and their hero leader Meatball staged over the course of 2 nights in Philly. Right? You know, President Biden's plan to inflict upon us a digital dollar is already nefariously underway, and it's very important to understand the potential consequences here because, of course, contrary to their claims, this is not in your best interest or mine, and time is of the essence. So taking action now, getting smart on this subject, is a very good idea to protect your savings and your retirement. You can help protect your savings from the risks of Joe Biden's digital dollar scheme by diversifying your money with IRAs in gold and silver. Precious metals, my friends. Call the experts to get smart on the subject at American Alternative Assets. Call them today at 888-4GOLD20, 888-446-5320. Get all the guidance you need. Get smart on the subject, safeguarding your retirement and your savings. Say no to Joe Biden's digital dollar. Call 888-4GOLD20. Individual results may vary. There is no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Seek your own legal, tax, investment, and financial advice before opening an account. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, the Democrat Party is a crime wave, and our media is complicit because they ignore most of it. Only when they can politicize it to benefit the Democrat Party does it become an issue. Speaking of which, we've got a bunch of President Trump for you today as well, and we are at 888-630-9625. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. Now, I got some friends in town, and a friend of mine, Tim, just sent along the police release from last night. I played you audio from the news media describing the Henry Cuellar carjacking and to be on the lookout. I was mocking what the media reported.
Police are still searching for 3 male suspects.
They're looking for 3 male suspects because, male suspects are always the problem.
3 armed suspects approached a man parking his car. It turns out that man was Texas Congressman Henry Cuellar.
Cuellar. It's Cuellar, but, it's get all caught up in cultural sensitivities and all that. There are 3 armed men, so be on the lookout for 3. And the other station, 3 men. But in reality, what the police put out was a statement that says, look out for 3 black males wearing all black clothing. Do not take action. Call 911, they say. But the news media sanitizes that because they don't want to contribute to negative stereotypes by saying, be on the lookout for 3 black males wearing all black clothing. The 3 of them have guns and they're carjacking people. But they don't want to, they don't want to contribute to negative stereotypes because then the cops, who are the real bad guys here, according to the Democrats, they might arrest or shoot the wrong 3 black males wearing all black just for carrying guns and driving somebody else's car, But I got to say, when I saw it did remind me of the kind of not funny yet hilarious story of the 4 carjackers in Prince George's County, Maryland, a couple of days ago. 4 killed in fiery Maryland crash as stolen SUV evades police. And these 4 young men, that's the only way they were described. They carjacked someone at gunpoint, went off racing away, police chase, crashed into a tree, burst into flames, all 4 of them burned to death.
Out-of-control crime continues to impact the nation's capital. Texas Congressman Henry Cuellar shaken up this morning, but okay after being carjacked at gunpoint at Navy Yard.
This happened just an hour after people eating at a popular waterfront restaurant had to duck for cover because of a shooting outside.
She can tell you about a plane crash with a gleam in her eye. Sounded kind of chipper talking about the carjacking and that was a triple shooting at the other restaurant in Washington, D.C., but, pay no attention to that. We do have a senator here who is not out of his mind, and his name is Senator Mike Lee. He's a Republican. He's from Utah. He's a common sense person, and he has an X account. He posted last night when he learned that Congressman Henry Cuellar had been carjacked by 3 Democrats with guns, and I like what he said as a resident of the District of Columbia and as an American and as a sane person who doesn't want to live in the middle of a crime wave like, the Democrat Party is creating from coast to coast, not just in our big cities, but everywhere. Senator Mike Lee, in his X post, said, my friend, Representative Cuellar, Democrat from Texas, became the victim of a crime tonight in what's considered a nice part of D.C. D.C. is dangerous. Something's gone terribly wrong here for far too long. Congress has the sole power to make D.C.'s laws and must intervene. I agree with Senator Mike Lee completely. I do believe that Congress should intervene. And in fact, I think that Congress at this point should take away home rule, which they're going to call everybody racist, but they call everybody racist for everything anyway. Sun comes up, it's racist. And, then in the meantime, they're shooting everybody and carjacking everybody. And I believe that Senator Mike Lee is correct. And as a longtime resident, more than 30 years of Washington, D.C., I believe that it's time for Congress to take away home rule from the Democrats, because even Congress could not do a worse job of running the city of Washington, D.C. Now, that's setting the bar awfully low, very, very low. But even the Congress could not do worse, because these Democrats are mentally ill. Do we have Trayon White? I think we have audio of Trayon White. We got, the mayor. We had one of our brilliant listeners that called in earlier talking about Mayor Muriel Bowser saying insane things, as she so often does, and, blaming everybody else for everything and taking no responsibility. And the news media, after the carjacking of the congressman last night, talked to neighbors and said, oh, we don't blame the mayor. We don't blame the city council. We don't blame the criminals. We don't blame anybody because we're mental dwarves. They probably went to Ivy League schools and they came out dumber than newborn babies. But setting that aside, honestly, the Daily Caller has a story on Senator Mike Lee. Now, Congress should override D.C. government to curb city's crime wave, Mike Lee says. And I honestly would go farther than that and say that it's time to take away home rule. The Democrats have been given everything in Washington, D.C., and they destroy, they make everything worse. They make everything more dangerous, everything filthy, everything more expensive. They, I may get to that restaurant thing where they're adding money to bills in restaurants, but not to the menu. They surprise you with it when you get your bill. Also, they did pass a law a couple of years ago, which allegedly went into effect yesterday, where now businesses have to accept cash money if you're going to be open to the public and do business. You have to accept cash money. That's a good idea. But let's go to to D.C. City Councilman Trayon White, who is and he was just reelected, and he's a member of the D.C. City Council. This is Democrat D.C., our nation's capital, the United States of America, the capital of the free world. And here is Democrat Trayon White. He's driving in his car, making a video of himself with his phone created by the patriarchy, and complaining that there are snowflakes falling in like January or whatever it was in Washington, D.C., which is perfectly normal. And he's blaming the Jews.
Man, it just started snowing out of nowhere this morning, man. Y'all better pay attention to this climate control, man. This climate manipulation. And D.C. keep talking about we're a resilient city. And that's a model based off the Rothschilds controlling the climate to create natural disasters they can pay for it and own the cities, man. Be careful.
It's time to take the city away from these Democrats. All right. He's a product of the public education system. In Baltimore, which the Congress can't take over, but they can take over D.C. because it's a federal district, and the Congress should take D.C. over. And if they have to bring the National Guard in to restore order, that would be fine at this point. It looks like there was a violent assault in front of my building day before yesterday, and that may have been a carjacking also. I'm still looking into that one. But here is the Daily Caller. Congress should override D.C. government to curb city's crime wave, Mike Lee says. Republican Utah Senator Mike Lee tweeted. It was an X post. It's called X now. tweeted Tuesday that Congress should override the government of Washington, D.C. to combat crime in the Capitol after a Democrat lawmaker was carjacked Monday night. Mike Lee, ex-post, time to invoke Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. All right? And he attached that to a breaking news story that Texas Democrat Representative Henry Cuellar was carjacked at gunpoint tonight in Washington, D.C. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 of the U.S. Constitution, known as the Enclave Clause, states that Congress shall have the sole and exclusive government of what is called the federal city, a place not exceeding 10 miles square. It's exceeding 10 miles square now, though. While this clause does not exclude the operation of local government in the Capitol, which comprises a mayor and a 13-member council under the 1973 District of Columbia Home Rule Act, that's what should be repealed. The 1973 District of Columbia Home Rule Act should be repealed, and the federal government should take over Washington, D.C., because they could not do worse than the Democrats today. Congress still retains the authority to undo acts of the D.C. government, to alter its form, even abolish it altogether, Lee explained in a YouTube video. And I'm with Senator Lee, and I think it's time to dissolve the D.C. government, to repeal home rule, and it's time for the federal government to take over Washington, D.C. No taxation without representation. You know, we in the district have no representation in Congress. We have a non-voting delegate in the House of Representatives who is just a Eleanor Holmes Norton, and she, honestly, if she had a brain, she'd be out in the street playing with it. She's no good. So Democrat Representative Henry Cuellar was carjacked at gunpoint outside his residence in D.C.'s Navy Yard neighborhood around 9:30 p.m. 3 suspects allegedly drove off in Cuellar's car after threatening the congressman with a firearm while he was attempting to park. He's coming home. He's a member of Congress, but he's a Democrat. So he's going to say, "Oh no, we shouldn't do anything like that. We should reward the criminals in some way." But Senator Lee is right, and I would go farther. It's time to repeal home rule. All right? 50 years of D.C. home rule have not proven that experiment, which was itself a significant departure from the Constitution, to be worthwhile, Senator Lee said in another ex-post. D.C. is unsafe. Congress is to blame. It is time, I mean this, it's time, and if this carjacking of a Democrat congressman is the catalyst, that's fine with me, because it's true, 50 years after D.C. home rule was granted, has not proven this experiment to be a success, and it's time to put an end to this terrible, awful experiment, and it's time for the federal government to take over Washington, D.C. I mean that. As a 30-plus year resident of Washington, D.C., it's time for home rule to end, and it's time for Congress to take over Washington, D.C., under the Constitution, and I'm with Senator Mike Lee. I'd like to buy him a beer and talk about the mechanics of this, because he's started something here, I hope, and of course he'll be attacked, because nothing gets you in trouble like the truth, right? Your Democrat Party, they destroy everything. This is one of the world's great cities, and they're making it increasingly unlivable. I'm nodding at Michael. He's squinting at me. All right, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Ralph calling from inside of Washington, D.C., where it's not safe. Ralph, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me on. What I wanted to say was, I guess I might be parroting what you're saying.
Uh-huh.
We need to repeal. Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening to you.
We need to repeal home rule, and we have to be honest. The president being honest about what the crime that's happening in D.C.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, let's just say 100% of the criminal activity in D.C. is being done by black kids. Now, You're a nice guy to say just to call them Democrats. For me, I'm black, and I'm calling things as I see it. That's who's committing the majority of the crime, and the Democrats really don't want to admit that. Now, if you were to say 3 black youth robbed carjacked a dude in his car, you're going to be painted as a racist. That's what the Democrats do.
Yep.
But I'm black, and I'm just saying that the criminality happening in D.C. is being done by black youth. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie about it, but it's the truth.
Yep.
And the press should tell the truth, period. The sooner they start telling the truth, the better, instead of just worrying about who's going to do what. But the big thing with the Democrats is that you can loot, rob, steal, and kill as long as you show at the polls to vote for a member for a Democrat. That's what they worry about with blacks. They want us just for the vote. They don't care what we do when we don't vote. What matters to them is that we're around to vote. Whether we're a criminal or a miscreant or whatever, that's all they care about. They're very hypocritical about it. And a passing remark for Trayon White, I live in his ward, Ward 8, and guess what? A lot of the folks in my neighborhood don't like Trayon White, and I think when he runs again, he's going to get voted out. But only if they abolish home rule and get rid of it and put the House under control board or under control of the House District Committee, period, that they need to do.
I think shy of that, Ralph, you should run for the city council because you've cracked the code. You've figured it all out. You know exactly what's going on. You tell the truth. You're unafraid. You're right about everything that you said, 100%, from the news media on down. And again, it was Albert Einstein that said, Ralph, the right to search for truth implies also a duty. One must not conceal any part of what one has recognized to be the truth. But the news media conceals portions of the truth every single day, and that's a key to the corruption of the news media, Ralph. And I got to tell you, you just nailed everything 100%. I'd want to thank you for calling in and just telling the truth. That's what we do here, Ralph. It sounds like you listen to my show regularly. I don't care what the truth is. I just want it to be the truth. And we can't make decisions if we don't have the truth. And the press, which is an extension of the Democrat Party, Ralph, conceals very key elements of the truth every single day. And that's why we have a very dishonest conversation in this country about the great issues of our time. It's the Democrat Party and the news media, Ralph, and you know it.
And we got to remember about the Washington Post. Once upon a time, the Post was a really good newspaper. Because I grew up in D.C. as a kid, and I can remember having a paper route serving the Washington Post. But now look at them. They're just a bunch of left-wing hack jobs, is what they are, and liars, and don't tell out the whole truth. They're just aligned with the Democratic Party, and that's it. Now, I was once a voting Democrat. Mm-hmm. I don't vote Democrat anymore. I'm a libertarian because we got a weak Republican Party that a bunch of milquetoast and standing up to the Democrats. They're not going to do that. So I vote libertarian. Now, it might be wrong, but who can I vote for? They won't adjust the economy. They won't stop federal spending. They won't come up with a balanced budget. None of them, to me, is doing that. So why should I vote?
You are. You're the best. You are. You're a great American. We need a country full of and a city full of thinking people like you, Ralph. And I'm thrilled that you called in, and I'm thrilled that you listened to the show. And I thank you. And I honestly, you see me out on the street, Ralph. I want you to tap me so that I can buy you a couple of beers. Is that okay? We got a deal?
That's fine with me. You know that, Chris. Like I say, you're cool. I understand when you say Democrats And that's what they are. They're Democrats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. From the looting and the murder in Philadelphia to the carjackings in D.C. to the murders in Chicago to the, you get to Portland and Seattle, you get a bunch of white radical, smelly lefties that, do drugs and sleep on the sidewalk too. But yeah, Ralph, you should run for office. I'd vote for you. God bless you. Thank you for checking in. Hey, do you have stinky odors in your home or office that you've tried but just can't get rid of? Well, now you can get rid of any odor with the Eden Pure Thunderstorm Air Purifier. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm gets rid of strong odors from cooking and cigarette smoke and litter boxes and trash cans, and even leftists are no match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. The Thunderstorm starts working in a matter of seconds to clear any room of any odor. Plus, you don't have to buy filters again and again to buy and schedule and replace. Not with the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. You can hold one in your hand. They're only this big. More than 350,000 units already sold. The Thunderstorm has so many 5-star reviews online, you should check them out for yourself. During this week, I've got a great deal for you, too. To own your own Thunderstorms. Right now, you can save $200 on the Eden Pure Thunderstorm for whole home protection. You get 3 of them for whole home protection. Put one in the office. Put one in the teenager's room. 3 units for under $200. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com. You put in the discount code Chris. That's me, CHRIS. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Chris. Plus, you get free shipping. We have President Trump coming up back in court today, and he stopped to speak to cameras again. I've got that for you. Hunter Biden is in court today. He's going to plead not guilty to gun charges of which he is obviously guilty. But don't you know who his dad is? That's coming up, and we are at 888-630-9625. And I've got President Trump coming up and a radical left-wing extremist Democrat congressman by the name of Al Green, not the singer. Congressman Al Green has jumped on my bandwagon. What do you hear what Democrat left-wing radical Congressman Al Green is pushing for as of today? It's something I've been pushing for years. Although his scheme is half-baked, I'll explain the second part for him and to him. That's coming up. President Trump, Democrat crime wave. Congressman Al Green must have been listening to my show because he's finally got a good idea. I know it's a good idea because it's my idea. I'll explain coming up.